This is an energy drink. Ancient soldiers carried these instead of food. They marched for weeks without stopping. Scientists spent 100 years trying to recreate what was inside. You already have the main ingredient at home. But here's the thing. They didn't drink it. They ate it, raw, with fat, before battle. And it worked better than anything we've put in a can. Here's what they knew that we forgot. Here's the thing about energy. Your body is a machine that burns fuel. Always has been. Take away the fuel, the machine stops. In the ancient world, stopping meant dying. The warrior who ran out of energy mid-battle didn't get a water break. The mountain messenger who collapsed on a mountain pass didn't get an easy ride home. The farmer who couldn't push through harvest didn't eat that winter. So for tens of thousands of years, humans had one obsession. Not entertainment, not wealth, energy. How do I get more of it? How do I carry it with me? How do I make it last? And the answers they found? Brilliant, bizarre, sometimes terrifying. Let's start with the one that changed everything. About 1,000 years ago, in the highlands of what is now Ethiopia, there were people called the Oromo. The Oromo knew about a wild plant that grew on the hillsides. Red berries, dark seeds inside. We'd recognize them immediately today. Coffee cherries. But the Oromo weren't brewing anything. They had a completely different idea. They picked ripe coffee cherries off wild trees, ground them in stone mortars, seeds, pulp, all of it. Mixed the paste with animal fat, usually butter. Rolled it into a ball, a big ball. British explorers who witnessed this in the 18th century described them as billiard ball-sized morsels, stored in leather pouches. Warriors carried these into battle. Merchants carried them on week-long trade journeys. Farmers ate them during harvest. One ball, caffeine, fat, sugar, protein, everything your body needed to keep going, compressed into your fist. This is what coffee actually was for most of its history on Earth. Not a morning ritual, a weapon. The Oromo called this tradition Buna Kala, roughly translated, slaughtering coffee. The coffee you drink on Sunday morning? Its closest ancestor was war food, carried in a leather pouch, into battle, 1,000 years ago. Let that sink in. The Oromo weren't alone in this. Every culture, every continent, every century, the same obsession. Different ingredients, same question. How do I keep going? Let's go to ancient Greece. Around 776 BC, the Olympic Games begin. The greatest athletes in the ancient world. And their training food? Dried figs. Charmus of Sparta, winner of the 200-meter race in 668 BC, trained almost entirely on dried figs. Not steak, not protein shakes, figs and honey. Homer wrote about the Greek athletes recovering faster on honey. High-speed glucose, natural sugars, fast fuel. Modern sports science has confirmed this works. 2,000 years later. Now let's go to the Andes, the Inca Empire. High altitude, brutal terrain. The Incas had relay runners called chasquis. Their job? Carry messages around the entire empire. 240 kilometers a day, on foot, through mountains. Their fuel was coca leaves, chewed slowly, held in the cheek. Worth noting, cocaine is extracted from coca leaves. However, raw leaf chewing doesn't provide that same high. Chewed slowly, it suppresses hunger, thirst, fatigue, and altitude sickness simultaneously. The Inca Empire controlled cocoa as a strategic resource. It was distributed to soldiers and workers like a military ration. More valued than gold, according to Inca records. It seems like a small thing, but it moved an empire. Meanwhile, in Mexico, the Aztec warriors were drinking chocolate, a bitter spice cacao drink. Nothing like your hot chocolate. Cold, dark, mixed with chili and vanilla. Unsweetened. The Aztec ruler, Montezuma II, reportedly consumed enormous quantities of it daily. And he reserved cacao beans for his military. Because cacao beans were so valuable, you could buy a turkey for 100 of them. Energy was that expensive. And then there were the Roman legions, the soldiers who built the most extensive road network on Earth, who marched 30 kilometers a day in full armor. Their energy food was almost offensively simple: hardtack biscuit, bacon fat, sour wine. Soldiers were ordered to carry 20 days of rations before a campaign. Portable, calorie-dense, nearly impossible to spoil. The Roman legions didn't eat well, they ate strategically. Side note, Roman general Avidius Cassius ordered his troops to carry only 3 things: bacon fat, hardtack, and sour wine. Nothing else. They marched on that and won. Here's where the coffee story changes. Around 1454, the port city of Aden, Yemen, a Sufi scholar named Jamal al-Din al-Dabhani had a problem. His prayer rituals, called dhikr, lasted the entire night, hours of chanting the names of God. He needed his students awake, alert, focused. He'd been using khat, a stimulating plant common in the region, but supplies were running short. He'd heard about something Ethiopian traders were selling: the coffee bean. Jamal al-Din roasted the beans, brewed them in hot water, served the result in small clay cups at the start of the night's vigil. His students stayed awake, alert, present, through the whole night. This moment, this Sufi scholar in a port city, is the first credible record we have of roasted brewed coffee. Not invented to start your morning, invented to survive the night. The word kawa, the Arabic name for coffee, originally meant wine because coffee was their intoxication, not of the body, of the mind. News spread through prayer networks, pilgrimage routes, trade caravans. By 1414, the coffee was known in Mecca. By 1554, the first coffee house opened in Istanbul. Within 200 years of that first Sufi cup, coffee houses existed in London, Paris, and Vienna. They were called schools of the wise. Not coffee shops, schools. Now here's the question nobody asks. When did coffee become a morning thing? The Oromo ate it as battle fuel. The Sufi mystics brewed it to survive the night. The Ottoman coffee houses served it in the afternoon and evening debate. At what point did it become the thing you have to have before work? The answer? The 1800s, the Industrial Revolution. Before that, much of Europe drank beer for breakfast, not as a party, as hydration. Water in medieval cities was often unsafe to drink. Beer was fermented. Beer wouldn't kill you. Low alcohol morning beer was standard in England, Germany, and France for centuries. Then factories arrived. The new machines required precision. Timetables demanded punctuality. Workers couldn't afford to show up drunk. Coffee replaced morning beer, not by preference, by necessity. Quick history check. The phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, was coined in 1944 by a cereal company. Marketing, not history. The morning coffee ritual you think is ancient and timeless, it's younger than the steam engine, built to make factory workers more productive. Let that one sit. 10,000 years of human history. Coffee fruit crushed with butter, carried into battle in a leather pouch. Figs eaten before the Olympics. Cocoa leaves chewed on Andean mountain passes. cacao drunk cold with chili by soldiers, bacon fat and hardtack carried by legionnaires, Sufi mystics brewing in the dark of a Yemen night, and now you. Espresso machine on the counter, a pod, a button, 30 seconds. The specifics change completely. The question never does. How do I get the energy to do what I have to do today? Every civilization on Earth has asked that question. Your morning routine isn't a quirk of modern life. It's the latest answer to the oldest human problem. What do you use for energy when you really need it? Tell me in the comments. If this made you look at your coffee differently, well, that's the whole point. Please like and subscribe. If you want to learn more, visit the website in the description. Thank you.